Unicorn Roast.
Welcome to the Unicorn Roast podcast. I'm Emily Forlini, and I'm here with my co-host Mike Elgin, who is traveling the globe per usual. Hi, Mike.
Hey, how's it going? You've been traveling the globe as well, going to Puerto Rico.
Little
So
Puerto
that
Rico visit. I got like some pep in my step. I'm back. I'm so happy. The sun, just beamed right in my brain, and I'm ready to go.
it's a very sunny place. I am in the mountains north of Milan in Italy, and we're meeting with family, and it's very rainy and drizzly and spectacularly beautiful here. So I had been in sunny Central California, and this all this rain and fog is a relief. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. But the really important thing is that I've been demonstrating my Ray-Ban Meta glasses to people, and they greet these devices with the same kind of mixture of disgust and awe that most people do when they first encounter the advanced AI features that we talked about on the show before, like Live AI, which will just literally, I basically hold up a menu and I say, how much is the espresso, and it just gives me the price, or like it holds up an Italian menu and it will read it in English and stuff like that. It's really fun stuff.
So you don't
uh,
even need to use your eyes anymore.
and more importantly, I don't have to use my brain, so
Are
that's
you
nice.
progressing or regressing?
Yes.
This is a mix of both.
Exactly. So there are many areas of my mind that are lapsing and
Hmm.
going to sleep, and the others that are, I'm always trying to learn about stuff, and I use AI to sort of give me a summary of various things. So I learn a lot and I forget a lot. So it's in general, I'm not getting any smarter and hopefully not any dumber, but it's a lot of fun. But what's been in the news lately is our friend Mark Gurman, who's we tend to mention because he's like the only guy who leaks Apple news these days, and he
He's kind
leaks
of
a
a
lot of it.
legend, like in the journalism world. Like he has all these connections, and I mean, I cite him all the time. Like somehow he's
Yes,
just ahead of the game on everything, and it's pretty impressive.
I used to interview him for Tech News Today 10 years ago or whenever it is that I did that. And he was kind of just out of high school. And I think he started
Huh.
leaking Apple stuff in high school. And I don't think he had any journalism training or anything. He just somehow had knowledge about what Apple was doing. He knows someone or people or something. Nobody knows. A good magician never reveals their secret,
Hmm.
but he's just made hay with it. Now he's got the newsletter at Bloomberg, and he's just breaking news left and right. But one of the things he was saying is that, and it was kind of heartening to hear because you know what an obsessive smart glasses person I am. Um, he has been saying that Tim Cook is, I think the way he put it was, cares about nothing else except
Oh.
Apple's future glasses product that's post Vision Pro. So the Vision Pro is kind of a stopgap line of products which have to be tethered, they're gigantic, all that kind of stuff. But what Tim Cook is apparently totally obsessed with is the future of glasses you can wear all day that don't look like smart
Hmm.
glasses, they look like regular glasses. And it reminds me a bit of Steve Jobs' obsession with the iPad. He started being obsessed with the iPad in 2002. The iPad shipped 8 years later, so there was 8 years where Steve Jobs was completely obsessed with the iPad, and I'm sure he's rolling over in his grave now to know what an impact the iPad didn't make compared to what he thought it would make. But
Hey, it made a
um,
big splash, and it just, I don't
yeah,
know.
I think he thought it would be the future of everything, and we're
I
still using
see.
laptops.
I think it's
I
a quiet victory. Like it's in everyone's house, they're using it. They're just not really talking about it. Not everyone, but the people who have them love them.
It's huge in the toddler demographic. That's for
It's
sure.
just true. We're just beaming them into kids' brains.
Exactly.
The future is
Here,
now.
the kids whining about something. Here, have an iPad.
Yeah.
Um,
Did I tell you
would
when
you?
I got my first iPad?
No.
I was like I thought it was a big exciting thing. I like asked for it for Christmas. I think people probably pooled money and got me the iPad, and I was in like my 20s, and I was I hadn't had an iPad for a long time. Other people were using iPads, and I open it on Christmas and I'm like, "Yeah, I have an iPad now." And then my like 4-year-old niece also gets an iPad. The two of us just have our iPads, and I had thought about it so much, and for her, she was just like la la la, like
Yeah.
pressing buttons. So it kind of ruined the moment.
Yeah. That's tragic. That's a really sad story. Not for your niece though. That sounds like an awesome gift for a 4-year old. That's hilarious. No, I actually thought I actually thought that iPads would take over from the Mac, that they would grow to enormous sizes, and then we have like a single piece of glass kind of at an angle, and we do everything with touch screens. We'd conjure up keyboards and type on the glass and do all this stuff.
Hmm.
That none of that stuff happened. I think it might have happened had Steve Jobs lived. He loved the single pane of glass idea very much. The public didn't love it that much. But anyway, I think it's nice that Tim Cook is obsessed with glasses, and he's even said that he wants to beat Meta to market, which is absolutely not going to happen. So Meta is working on a product codenamed Hypernova. It's essentially Ray-Ban Meta glasses that have a screen in the right lens, and these are going to cost about as much as an iPhone. They're going to cost between $1,000 and $1,400, they say, and possibly ship in the last half of 2025. If they can hit the 2025, this year's holiday season, they're going to probably knock it out of the park. Google is also working on its own thing. And by the way, they're working on also Hypernova 2 for 2027, which will have two lenses, which will enable 3D virtual objects.
But will they be Meta branded? Because I feel like the Ray-Ban branding is really what's taking them far with their current product because Meta has kind of poor brand recognition, if any, because they just randomly rebranded Facebook to Meta and put
Yeah,
everything under it. So there
yeah,
isn't like that personal association, but Ray-Bans have made their product seem very cool.
yeah. And the other thing that Ray-Ban brings to the table is that Ray-Ban glasses tend to have thick plastic and they tend to be
Hmm.
bold-looking glasses. And so the Ray-Ban Meta glasses they have more material than regular Ray-Bans, but not much more. And they still, you can kind of pass as somebody wearing Ray-Bans. So that it's a great partnership for Meta. And I agree with you. It's like the Ray-Ban brand that's really going to sell it. Although what the company they're really dealing with, of course, is Luxottica. And
Right.
Luxottica has all the brands. And so you could imagine that they could break into, you know, all kinds of other brands, styles, sports glasses, super high fashion glasses. I don't know if,
Well, I would like if Luxottica became a surprise, market player in this. Like they had their own tech, or it's just the same brands all the time. Meta, Apple, they're pitting against each other. Like maybe this could be an opportunity for a whole other company to come in and make a splash.
there are companies in Silicon Valley that make glasses. They make the light engines. Those are the little devices on the corners that sort of beam the imagery into the glass. They are, open for business so that companies like OpenAI and others can just come and sort of apply their AI to the glasses hardware. And lots of companies are going to be doing this. So I think we're going to see a world in which many of the fairly well-known brands like OpenAI, like others, are going to have glasses.
Hmm.
Google's going to have glasses. Google is kind of ambitious, as is Apple. So my best guess is the best case scenario I think is that Meta Hypernova comes out in time for the holiday season this year.
True.
Google may come out with something in conjunction with Samsung for the holiday season next year, and then Apple, who knows,
Got it.
2 or 3 years after that. And Apple will be last to market, and their product will be probably be really good and probably very expensive. Um, but in any event, I mean, we are, as always, on the brink of a revolution where there's lots of glasses products. Everybody's going to be talking to AI, and I think it's going to be fairly transformative. Um,
I'm of
eh,
two minds about it. Like you are pushing me in a healthy way to even be aware of this whole glasses thing because I don't have them, and I feel like you get more and more information every day that you're right. Like with this Apple update, I I'm still not all in on it though. Like maybe it'll still just be a segment of the population that will have that. Like I kind of sometimes it feels like the vision we're portraying is like everyone will be walking around the street with these glasses on. And like, do you think it's that, or do you think it's going to be just a segment?
I think it's that. I think it's going to be fully mainstream.
Hmm.
I'm almost certain that it'll be fully mainstream in 10 years. I think it's a strong
Okay.
possibility that it could be fully mainstream within 5 years. I think people like Kevin, our producer, and my son, who he has perfect vision. and he wears Ray-Ban Meta glasses all the time, just for
He's
the
your son.
AI. Yes, and he's a nerd,
The
and
apple is
so
not falling far from the
no, it
tree.
isn't. Right, or the Meta Ray-Ban
But what
glasses are not
about
falling.
like even just someone who is just totally out of the tech world? Like, you really think you think like a plumber's gonna show up at your house wearing, Ray-Ban glasses? You think like, I don't know, everyone on reality TV is gonna have Ray-Ban glasses on? Like, what is the extent here?
I do, and if you go onto there's like a Ray-Ban Meta TikTok, and there's just an insane number of influencers on TikTok that are just obsessed with their Ray-Ban Meta glasses, and they mostly just look in the mirror and record TikTok videos through the glasses, and they talk about the glasses and they love them and all that kind of stuff. But I really do, because if you think about the mainstream usage of Google, everybody knows you Google something. If you want to know something, you just do a search. Well, at the very least, smart glasses like Ray-Ban Meta glasses offer you voice search. You just ask it questions and it gives you the answer. This is super compelling, just by
Mhm.
itself, without the super high tech stuff. That's amazing.
Right. But
Setting timer.
what about like the Apple putting cameras in the AirPods though? Like, I would be more interested in that. I just don't want something on my face.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and they're also rumored to be putting cameras in watches.
Right.
I had a camera watch like 20 years ago or something like that. Took really low resolution black and white pictures. It was very weird. And now my Google Photos, if you go back far enough in time, all of a sudden all the pictures turn into low res black and white pictures. Um, but no, I think I don't know. I don't know that the AirPods are going to be using the cameras for like taking pictures, right? I don't think that's what the cameras are going to be for.
I don't know.
But I really do. I mean, you probably wear sunglasses, right?
I do, but I lose them all the time. That's a great
Okay.
point. I'm totally going to lose these glasses, and if I have to not lose them, it's going to be a new stress, kind of like my
Yeah.
phone. I have to not lose my phone. I
Right.
can't have too many gadgets like that.
Yeah. And you're probably not going to wear a monocle. There's a
Maybe that could
there's
be
a
good.
kickstarted product that had a monocle for a while, a smart monocle that
I
you
actually
may be
have
shocked to learn that didn't take off.
my grandfather, I guess, had a monocle.
Really? Wow.
Yes, I have it. I don't. So
So
I have
you're
a monocle.
you're basically the Monopoly guy,
I
right?
I am. Yes, I'm a
Um,
combination of the Monopoly guy and like
yeah,
a Rockefeller.
yeah. No, I don't think 100% of people will have smart glasses in the short term, but I think that it's really going to be the most compelling use case, and it's really going to be an extension to the phone for a while. I mean, I think it's not going to replace the smartphone. It's going to extend the
It's all work
smartphone, make it more
together.
convenient. You won't have to take the phone out of your pocket for a lot more things, and the photography is really fantastic. I mean, I was a glasshole, as we talked about before. I wore Google Glass everywhere, and everybody used Google Glass just to take pictures. That was 99% of what they used it for. And if you think about the Amazon Echo and other home appliance assistants, what do they use that for? Setting timers when they put something in the oven,
Hmm.
or they use it for the weather. Like it can do all kinds of stuff, but people use it for very basic things. Smart glasses can be used for all of the above. So you
Right.
can use it to set timers. You can use it to take pictures. You can use it for all the things that people use these peripheral devices and wearables for the simple everyday use cases that people just gravitate toward. And so it's going to be very powerful for that sort of thing. And the way Ray-Ban Meta glasses work is they not only do reminders, but they take a picture and they give you a reminder of what the picture sees. So you
So this
basically,
is interesting though because Alexa, the new Alexa, is starting out on the Echo Show devices, which have cameras.
yes,
So they're
right.
also going, I think a lot of the tech industry is going towards cameras and glasses. And I know I push you on like how committed
Hmm.
you are to this vision, but I also
Yes,
secretly regurgitate it in my articles.
yes,
And I
F-
agree with you.
yes. And anyway, I just think it's compelling. If something is designed to be used with your eyes and your ears, then putting the screen in front of your eyes and putting the speakers in front of your ears is like really, really a no-brainer. And
Mhm.
so, But again, Apple and Google are not going to beat Meta to market. Um, they may win in the long run. I worry about Google because they're so timid about everything.
Yes.
They're announcing, multimodal features for Gemini that you use through the phone that are perfect for glasses. Where are the glasses? And they're
Mm.
working with Samsung. Why? Why aren't they doing their own glasses? I think they feel burned by Google Glass. Everybody turned on them and just sort of crapped all over
Probably.
them for that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was unfair. They were clearly ahead of their time, and I think it was a lot like the Apple Vision Pro. They were really expensive, and the people who didn't want to spend that kind of money just decided to crap on them, so they didn't feel like they
Well,
needed
I'm a
to
little
buy them.
down. I'm crapping on Google this week. I mean, I think last episode we talked about kind of like my breakthrough conversation with ChatGPT, and it was handling all these attachments I was uploading and like providing me all this analysis. And I do not find that Gemini can do that at the same rate. So, and I just been using Gemini this week because I kind of got sick of ChatGPT. I was sick of the vibe. I like wanted to talk to someone else, and Google just isn't cutting it. Like I'll upload a PDF or something, ask a question about it, but then maybe I'll ask just a different question in a different area, but then I want to go back and ask about the attachment again, and it forgets the attachment. I'm like, wait,
Yeah,
no, like we're in the same chat window. Like I'm just like we're moving around like a normal conversation. So I'm like, why the heck is like Google not amazing at this?
yeah,
Makes me
exactly.
concerned for their future.
I really feel like it's a rudderless company. There are little pockets within the company that do great work, and they're
Hmm.
very good at oftentimes coming up with really good products, and then they just kind of they go nowhere. They have a great launch, they have a great product with a lot of promise, and then they just kind of fall asleep at the wheel. And
Right.
I blame Sundar Pichai. I think he's a terrible CEO.
Well,
Um,
yeah, he's kind of the guy. He's putting himself in a position to be blamed. He's the CEO.
yeah, but also I think he's kind of a consensus person. Whoever comes into his office, he sort of finds the sort of the ineffectual middle road to everything. And
I bet he was a total slime ball in meetings and like worked his way up. And oh, I don't know
yeah,
if he was hired externally, but do you know?
I don't remember. I do know
I
that
don't
he
know.
headed up the Chrome
Okay, so at
group
some
and then
point
Chromebooks.
he didn't just like come in on top of CEO. Okay, I bet like he just kind of worked it and made everyone happy and then
Hmm.
got to CEO and then now everyone's realizing he actually has no opinion. And everyone who worked with him is like, oh yeah, like they're so validated. I don't know. I just don't get a good vibe from him. I feel like he just slimed his way to the top.
I think that founders tend to be kind of narcissistic. And I think Larry Page and Sergey Brin are the kind of founders who want somebody to keep running it the way they would run it. In other words, not somebody with their own vision, not somebody with their own aspirations, but somebody who will, kind of keep it going. And I think to a certain extent, Tim Cook was that at Apple. Plus, he was brilliant at logistics and some of the more technical aspects of manufacturing. But essentially,
Mhm.
you don't want another like founder. You want somebody who's going to do your bidding. And I think that, like you say, I think he's the kind of person who can convince you that he's going to do what you want him to do rather than what he wants to do. But unfortunately, that's not how vision works. Vision has to be something you have to have your own ideas. And so, anyway, I've,
Exactly.
I've been down on him for a long, long time. I also believe that my theory has always been that there was a kind of internal political battle between him and Vic Gundotra. Vic Gundotra was the head of Google Plus. He was the head of Chrome and Chromebooks. Uh, and I think they had competing visions. So Vic Gundotra wanted to turn everything into Google Plus. He wanted YouTube inside Google Plus. He
Okay.
wanted Gmail inside Google Plus. And I think Sundar Pichai wanted the opposite. He wanted everything separated and individual, and he won. And Vic Gundotra was pushed out, and he took over, and he was then made CEO, and then he was made CEO of Alphabet. So he's not even the CEO. He's the CEO of two companies, Google and Alphabet. So
Hmm.
it's kind of a weird situation, and I think he might be the right guy to run Alphabet, right? Because
Yeah.
basically he's got to please the board and all that kind of stuff, but not Google. And so anyway, he's I don't like him. He's yeah,
Yeah.
he's not impressive. I don't know. He reminds me of Steve Ballmer, where he was handed
Who's
this
that?
brilliant. He was the former CEO of Microsoft. After he was
Oh, yeah.
originally he was Bill Gates's roommate, and then he was a kind of a yes man for Bill Gates during the Bill Gates reign. And then when Bill Gates left, he turned it over to Steve Ballmer, and then Steve Ballmer, you just see the company just diving the entire time he was the CEO. And then when
Yikes.
he left, they turned it over to the current guy, Satya Nadella, who turned it around and started making it, a
Hmm.
more successful company. But Ballmer was a failure as far as I'm concerned. I mean, he just was a terrible CEO. And so I think he's the Sundar Pichai is the Steve Ballmer of Google. So, but anyway,
Bad time to be a Steve Ballmer with
not a
AI.
good time to be a good Steve
Not a
Ballmer.
good time.
There's no good time to be a Steve Ballmer. He's the guy who's famous for saying developers, developers, developers. He's that guy. Remember that?
Oh, okay. I don't
And
remember that, but
yeah, yeah,
what a
he's
loser. I'll just hop on it. What a
uh,
dumb quote.
yeah, yes, yes. Nothing wrong with developers. Just say it once and then move on to other types of
Yes.
people. All right. Well, now that we've
We've
now
just
that
ripped
we've
everyone to
shat
shreds.
all over Sundar
Yes.
Pichai and others, now it's Elon
I have a
Musk's turn.
positive update. I
Oh,
have
you
a
do?
good an industry that I thought would be potentially failing for a little bit, which is electric vehicles. So it's doing a little bit better than I thought. I have an account from the New York Auto Show this week. Have you ever been to an auto show, or do you like know what they are?
I went to one once in San
Hmm.
Francisco, and it was a lot of fun.
It was fun. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
I mean, I was there with my son Kenny, and he just
Perfect
thought he was
use of it.
they had all the kind of stuff that he loved in particular. Like they had a Batman suit
Mhm.
in a like a case, and he just thought that was the best thing he ever saw. So
Yeah, they're great family events, but basically before they're open to the public, there's like 2 or 3 media days and just the press can go. So you can like get all the good pictures and then there's press conferences and you get all the announcements of the new cars and stuff. So do interviews and just a press day. So I went and I thought it was going to be lame. I mean, just there's so much just a shadow over the auto industry right now with the tariffs. They're all freaking out. Like I've had first person, meetings with Toyota, Kia, like I've talked to them in confidence and like their people are freaking out about the tariffs. Like everyone's freaking out about the future of the industry.
yeah,
It's also coming off of a couple years of great change and whiplash. Like it was the Biden industry with the EVs. They want now car companies made a ton of EV investments. And now there's this new president who's kind of like pulling the plug on some of the programs they modeled their, new products off of.
pun
So
intended.
yeah, pulling the plug is perfect. So anyway, it's been really hard to be a car company, and it just does not seem to be getting any easier. And so I was like, what the heck is going to be at this auto show? But there's a new Subaru EV. There's two new Kia EVs. The new Hyundai three-row SUV was there. The new Lucid Gravity three-row SUV was there. Jeep's one and only EV that came out in December was there. So there was like a lot of newness, and they felt like they were actually kind of more convinced about electric vehicles than I thought, and the vibe was like good, and I was very surprised.
Nice. That's great to hear. Yeah, and obviously electric cars are the future. So I'm always feeling like, okay, well, let's get on with it. We go to a lot of countries where there are no electric cars. Basically, we go to, and it's really the air quality is terrible, and
Right?
there are all kinds of problems. So here's a car that I'd never heard of before, and you probably know all about it. It's called the Polestar.
Yeah, yeah.
Chinese,
It's a
this Chinese
brand.
company.
They have a
Yeah.
couple cars. Yeah.
Okay. So our my wife's brother picked us up in a Polestar. So he lives in the Netherlands
Ooh,
where
very
they're
nice.
yeah, and he said that most of the cars I'm sorry, not the Netherlands, Norway. Sorry.
Hmm.
Um and he said most cars in Norway are electric nowadays.
They are.
And this Polestar car was just really nice. The entire roof was glass. The inside was so wide that like we were in the back seat and we just had all this room. It was just really nice. And he
Yeah.
drove, 24 hours from Norway to Italy, basically through all these different places. And I don't know, it just seemed like a really cool car. And he said, it's not
Hmm.
that expensive. being a Chinese car. Do they even have those in the U.S.? Can you buy
They
one in the
do.
U.S.?
They do. Yeah, you can buy them. I mean, obviously they're being kind of hit by tariffs and
Hmm.
stuff, but they actually produce them sometimes outside of China. So really, it's just the parent company. But yeah, Norway is the most successful, I would say, country in the Western world where it comes to EVs. So they have more EVs on the road than gas cars.
Yeah,
Like just and on a given road, there are going to be more EVs in any like place you go. They
that's
have
great.
huge charging stations, so they'll be like 50 stalls. They're just far in the future, and there's a little bit of controversy there because they actually have like huge revenue from like oil and gas, the country, and they
Yeah,
basically the government is making tons of money on non-renewables, and then they're offering incentives for people to buy EVs. So it's kind of like if you wanted to criticize something, you could definitely like smell a rat there, but
I don't think
yeah.
that's worthy of that much criticism. I mean, it's better than if they incentivized gas vehicles because they're a big gas and oil producer. They're
Mhm.
kind of doing the right thing in terms of promoting electric, and they're
They are,
also
and also just battery power is just so many things come with that, like energy independence, like solar, wind. There's just so much technology associated with batteries, so you might as well just get the population used to them and start opening your mind and thinking of new ways society could operate. And that's EVs can be an entree to that.
and my understanding is that Norway has electricity surpluses that they sell it to other countries. They have more than they could possibly use, and most of it is renewable in terms of
Well,
the
that
internal
sounds nice.
usage. Yeah, so it's they have a good thing going, and I'm cheering them on. I think it's great.
Hmm.
Electric is good. Well, that's great. And so how is Tesla doing? You said everybody's doing well except
Well,
Tesla.
Tesla is not doing well. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the sales reports. They're down quite a bit. I don't have the figure in front of me, but it was like 20% or something in Q1. And that last Q1 was also down. So the past like 2 years, the beginning of the year, so January to March, has just been a steady decline. And this year they just got absolutely hammered with the politics. And also just the fact that they haven't launched a new mass market car in years. Like the Cybertruck doesn't count. It's a very niche
No.
audience. So Elon Musk has basically decided he doesn't want to make cars anymore. He wants to make AI. He doesn't want to be a stable businessman anymore. He wants to be the most controversial political figure possible. And it's just like this nuclear implosion at Tesla that is really reflecting in the numbers. And their earnings calls in a couple weeks, so we should do a show on that.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. And you'll have all the facts on that one. One thing that I've noticed is that when did the Cybertruck first hit the mainstream
Was
availability?
it last? Is it
It's
in
like a year
this
ago or something,
two
right?
two falls ago? I remember they delivered their first ones in like November or December. They had a big event, so
Yeah,
it's probably been
right.
on the road for like a full calendar year, and it's a little
And
change on either
change.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing I've noticed is that I spent a lot of time in Silicon Valley. There's a ton of Cybertrucks there,
Mhm.
and in San Francisco as well. They don't age well. The Cybertrucks that are a year old, they look they're all smudgy and they look kind of
Smudgy
like,
refrigerators.
yeah, they have like weird dents in them, and they just don't look good. They look odd. They look like garbage
Yeah.
basically, and the fit and finish is very bad on a lot of them.
Mhm.
They have these glued on panels that kind of separate sometimes a little bit. What a
Look
mistake
at
that
you,
was.
car
Yeah.
designer.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, so the like this house I bought and I've been working on, like we're starting to do some renovations, but we have to upgrade the electrical panel. Lucky us, of course. Everything needs to be replaced. The electrical company comes and I'm walking to the house and I see a Cybertruck parked on the street, which was a bit odd. And I was like, is that the electrical guy?
Is
And
that
I went up
Elon Musk coming to yell at me for the things that I've written?
Yeah, and then I go to the house and I text him, "Hey, I'm here." And then sure enough, down the road, I see someone get out of the Cybertruck. So he basically parked his Cybertruck far away from the actual door. And as we're walking out, we walked past the Cybertruck, and I was like, "Is that yours?" And he was like, "Yeah, actually, I get like a lot of hate for it, so like I just parked over here." I was like, I felt kind of bad. I was kind of like, you know what, if you like it, like whatever.
I saw this viral video that somebody made. I think it was narrated by Nicolas Cage, and it was all about, people having regret having bought a Tesla. And they talk about how, like, do you find yourself preemptively justifying your purchase? And then they show this guy telling this lady who's walking by his house, "I bought it 5 years ago. I bought it 5 years ago."
That is literally the conversation he had. He goes, "Well, I've been a Tesla fan from the start, and so this was just, I got this really early." So I
But
was like,
they
just
the
do
whole
my life
thing was
now.
done like a pharmaceutical ad. So you're
Yeah,
suffering from this malady, and they're like, but help is on the way. And they're like, you can sell your Tesla, and you can divest yourself in all Elon Musk companies, and
yeah.
then they show the people that are all better. They have a cup of coffee. Yes, I made everything better by sort of separating myself. It's awful. What a mistake it is. It's like,
Yeah.
for him, just run your companies, man. It's enough to, to
Mhm.
to have five companies. Just do that, you know.
It wouldn't be such a mistake and such a big focus on it if he had just followed up with that $25,000 EV that they were planning on, which would have
Yeah.
totally overshadowed this, and this could have been a cool collector moment. But now it's like just stale in the air, the Cybertruck. It's just sitting in the air, and there's nothing to distract from it. And he's just been doing this politics thing, and I think that's where he's really gone wrong.
I also think that he talks too much, and I think he'd do better to not talk. So, for example, you mentioned the disappointment with his foray into robotics. He
Mhm.
builds humanoid robots, the Optimus Prime, and that's fine. There are lots of companies making humanoid robots. They're vaguely annoying. They're overhyped. I have my own problems with them in general. But then he goes out and he says, they're going to be more of these things than humans, and they're going to babysit your kids, and they're going
Yeah.
to do all this stuff. And I'm like, no, they're not. Uh, they're not getting anywhere near my family. He's just so eager to usher in a dystopian nightmare.
He is. I saw an
And
interview with Fox News. Like I started I always look at Fox News coverage because I feel like he's speaking to them more, and I like looking at the comment section and seeing what's going on. And did an interview, and in the middle, he went on this rant about the birth rate. His his whole birth rate thing, and how
yeah,
he's impregnating all these like conservative
he's going to
influencers.
personally solve the problem.
Yeah, oh yeah,
It's
he's really up
horrible.
to him. It's really up to him, right? But anyway, the people in the comments were like, "Love Elon Musk, cannot get on board with this birth rate thing." Yeah.
Everything that's bad about the modern world, the traffic, everything. There's too many people, like,
Hmm.
obviously. And I know that he personally stands to make another $400 billion if there's huge population explosions, and I appreciate his ambition. But, like, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
We need fewer people, and yes, I understand that if there's a lot of population growth or immigration, and a population is growing for whatever reason, it's good for business. Companies can
Right.
grow and all that stuff. But I think at some point we have to realize that why do we want a good economy? We want a good economy so that people are happy. We want a good economy so people have jobs,
Hmm.
and they can raise their kids in a good place, and all that kind of stuff. That's what we want the money for. But if the pursuit of that money destroys all the things that we want, then it's just, there's nothing good in its own sake for just making more and more and more and more money. And
Right.
obviously, there's going to be limits. What is Even Elon Musk must think that there's a maximum population for, let's say, Earth and Mars together, right? What was it, 100 billion
He
people,
probably has a
500 billion
number that
people?
he's put no work into developing, and he's just going to put out there into the world.
Yeah. He read science fiction books in high school, and he wants to make
Right.
all
Right.
the science fiction dystopian nightmares come true. Well, speaking of dystopian nightmares, very quickly, because I know we're going to wrap it up in about 10 minutes or so, but, like, I am fascinated by the idea of the use of drones for cyber attacks. I've been writing about this for a while, and I just think it's so fascinating, and it's so interesting what Ukraine is doing. So one of the things Ukraine is doing is they have this whole policy. I mean, they build, deploy, and destroy drones on an industrial scale by the millions.
Yeah.
And it's really amazing what they do. Many of those are consumer drones that have been retrofitted, but nowadays what they're doing is they're booby trapping the drones. So what they're doing is all the drones that they're going to send out to surveil the battlefield or to drop grenades or whatever they're going to do, they add malware to them. So when they're captured, if they're captured by the Russians, this malware will sort of look for open networks to infect. They'll hide little bits of code in the chips of the drone, so that if they're
This is
repurposed,
very exciting.
it'll broadcast their location so that they can send more drones to blow up the location of the drone that is being repurposed. They can fry electronics. They can do all this kind of stuff. And really, what it does, I mean, of course, the Russians um, couldn't figure this stuff out, but what it does is it adds a lot of friction to the repurposing of Ukrainian drones. So now the Russians have to be really careful about
Hmm.
about drones. They can't move quickly with them. They have to really examine each and every one individually to find out what it's doing and how and what. And so it's like they used to be able to repurpose a drone in a couple of days. Now it's probably going to be months before they can take a Ukrainian drone and repurpose it to
Wow.
attack the Ukrainians. So that I think that's really interesting. But to me, the most interesting um, drone attack ever was in 2022, where basically a financial services company, which we don't know which one it was because it was all
Financial
reported
services company
anonymously.
called New
Exactly,
Jersey.
exactly, right. They, the IT team at this company detected some weird stuff where a specific MAC address was being used in two locations. One was in the office, and the other by the rightful employee who was using it while working from home. So they looked all over for it, and they finally found it uh, on the roof on a drone. So there were two drones on the roof, and they were
Wow.
hacking the Wi-Fi as a local user. And they had stolen the credentials apparently weeks earlier with another drone. They just flew and landed on the roof. They had various hacking devices lashed to the drone. They managed to steal credentials, and then they went away, and then they came back to use those credentials to hack the network and stuff. And I just thought it was so fascinating. And that was
Yeah.
3 years ago. And in the remaining 3 years, drones have gotten cheaper, faster, longer range, much better cameras, and the immediate and obvious use for drones and cyber attacks is they can just simply defeat any physical security. So buildings, you know, have the first layer of cybersecurity is to make sure that unauthorized people don't get inside and look around. And so you have to key yourself in if you're an authorized employee and so on. They control who goes to what parts of the building. Well, a drone could just fly right over the fence. They can go down, through vents, through windows. They can go indoors,
Yep.
fly inside. They can do all kinds of stuff,
Apparently, the
which
NFL is having a huge problem with that. Like
really,
drones, they have stadium security, and they've
wow.
seen a huge increase in drones flying over the stadium. And basically, those drones can just do anything they want to the people in the stadium. I mean, worst case scenario, they could, have a weapon or do something like extremely nefarious. They're probably just filming the game. But the NFL security is having a huge drone problem.
Wow, not surprised. I mean, the thing is that the hack attack that I mentioned, they never caught the people because how could they?
Yeah.
Nowadays an inexpensive consumer drone that costs less than 800 bucks can fly 7 miles away
Hmm.
and still be controlled by the user. So how do you catch somebody who's far away? You can
Right.
just buy a drone anonymously, fly it in, and obviously drones are being used to smuggle contraband and
Right.
phones and things like that into prisons. It's a big problem that people aren't really um, dealing with. There was another report that I thought was hilarious because there's so much technology involved in drone and counter drone warfare that this report basically said, what the best anti-drone device is a shotgun. Just shoot them out of the sky. And I thought, okay, well, thank you. That's great
That will
advice.
try
I'll
that.
remember that.
Yes. But you're very right to bring this up. I think don't sleep on drones. Like there's a lot happening there, and there's something that's coming to mind. Just I read a book about how the military and the government used to be, known as kind of like having all the technical prowess. And if you wanted to work in a techie field, you would work in the military. And now it's kind of, or the government, just the government in general, CIA, whatever. Now, like private industry and all these tech companies have just so far surpassed the military. Now there's this big divide. But here, I feel like the military is kind of like reclaiming their techiness because they're actually doing so many things with drones. They're a very significant piece of technology that just like us civilians are by and large, ignorant about and not working on those projects and not
Right.
developing them. And I don't have, software developer friends who are talking about drones. And there's like I feel like they've kind of reclaimed like something interesting technologically.
Yeah, and they can do things at scale that individuals could never do, like drone swarms. You can imagine,
It's
not
great.
so
Honestly, it's
distant future.
crazy.
Yeah, it
It's
is
just
crazy.
crazy. People should also be aware that this is like in their world.
Yeah, they should. And it's not aliens over New Jersey. It's not as we both have discussed previously
Yes.
on this podcast and others. It's like a whole lot of drones,
Uh-huh.
and I think they're
But did you
fun. I mean,
see the New York Times report on the aliens, though? We can't let that pass.
no, I didn't see that.
Okay, so like apparently they actually found like evidence of life on another planet.
Oh, I did see that. Yes, I mean
Yeah.
that's I wouldn't call that aliens, but like, yeah, they
Well,
see
yeah.
the signature of biological activity in the atmosphere of a distant planet,
Yes.
and that's pretty amazing. That's cool. I mean,
What is it? Just like a plant, like a cell?
if you think about life on Earth, I think our planet is something like 4 billion years old, and the the part of that 4 billion that had technology building animals is like the last like microsecond, right? So
Right. So they're at the
so
beginning of their timeline.
or just the in the life of any planet that has evolving life, you can expect that
Hmm.
at least 99.9% of the time that it has life, it doesn't have intelligent life. It has everything that's less intelligent. And then as soon as they get intelligence, they destroy the planet. So, uh,
Like
I don't
us.
know.
We're up
Yeah,
to
like
bat
us.
on that one.
Right. But we're looking at planets at random periods in their evolutionary history.
Mhm.
And so the overwhelming probability is that it's not going to be,
Right.
Star Trek where every planet has people on it who are just like green or whatever.
Right.
But it's still fascinating. I mean, if you think
Hmm.
about, the most, it's just something I've always believed. The most probable fact about life in the universe is that the universe is probably teeming with life. That
Hmm.
seems very likely, just given the scale of and the number of planets, the number of stars. It's probably teeming with life. That's amazing, right? And then
It is.
the other possibility is that the universe is devoid of life everywhere except our planet, and that's really amazing. So there's no non-amazing outcome when
True.
we discover
That's
what the
nice.
deal is, right?
Yeah.
It's no matter what, it's mind-blowing.
Right.
But
Okay, while we're on space topic, I just want to briefly touch on this whole Blue Origin thing with like
yeah, God.
Katy Perry and what's her name, Lauren Sanchez or
I think it's
Gail
Laura
King,
Sanchez Lawrence.
Laura
Yeah.
Sanchez. Yeah. So there's such a divided response to it, and I think people are being slightly too negative, although I agree with them that this was clearly stupid. Like it was clearly stupid. I don't know why anyone I always thought that. Um I just see a lot of people saying like, this isn't like feminism. This is just some rich guy put these women in sexy suits in a ego capsule and sent them to space for 15 minutes and like it wasn't scientific. It's not women achieving anything besides like putting on a suit and going into space. But I do think there is a positive aspect to it. Like I'm sure that whenever people are, interested in space, people will say, "Oh, Gail King, went into space," or Katy Perry went into space, and it'll have like tangible effects. Yeah, it's just very problematic. I don't know. It's a very fraught situation. I don't know. What did you think about it?
I am negative on the negativity. I think that it's
Yeah,
fine. It's fine. I mean, the rocket was controlled from the ground, so nobody on board was driving anything. But I wouldn't do it. I think that the women who were in this thing had a lot of guts to do it. I mean, I wouldn't.
yeah,
It would scare the crap out. I wouldn't do
exactly.
that. I mean, it seems very brave of somebody like Katy Perry, who, she's famous. She doesn't need to prove herself by going to space
Hmm.
or whatever. And I thought, it was pretty courageous to do it. I also no, it wasn't scientific research, but it was certainly there's no chance in hell that every time they put one of those Blue Origin rockets up there, they don't learn more, they don't become more capable of
Right.
reliably launching and landing people. And they've been less reliable than SpaceX. And so I think
Hmm.
that I also thought it was courageous of Blue Origin itself, maybe Jeff Bezos, to put famous people.
True.
It's a
Yeah.
tourist thing, right? It's a space tourism. That's what
Right.
we're
People are
talking
saying
about here.
it's kind of a commercial. And I mean, there, of course, there are problems with it, but I think in general it was fine. The only thing that's weird to me is like, why is anything like all female? Just wish it didn't have to be like that. Like, if a crew of men went up, no one would even talk about it. It's probably happening right now, you know?
Yeah,
So
I mean,
I
I
really
think there
get
have
that.
been both men and women together have gone up at Blue Origin. I think didn't
Right.
William Shatner go up um,
Yeah,
with
there's
a few other
been a
people?
couple of people, yeah. And I mean,
Yeah,
and it is noteworthy that it was all women. So I just say let it be. Just people just need to let it be. It's fine.
I am obsessed by fake things, and I try to criticize things that are fake. And one of the things that I
Well, this.
learned, well, no, but this was accused of being faked. So there were two lines of conspiracy theories about this launch. One was that um, when the thing landed, Jeff Bezos was going to go open the door, right, personally. Welcome back, and I guess the wedding's still on. You made it, and that kind of thing. And but before he could go and open the door, somebody inside opened the door. So the door opened a little bit, and somebody, and it's like a handler or something, said something inside, and they closed the door again so that he could come and open it for the photo op, right? So people were saying that was evidence that the whole thing was fake. Okay, so that was dumb. Um,
Oh,
that's
that's a
evidence that
bit
the whole thing was
much.
a PR
Yeah.
stunt to me. But and the other thing
Yeah.
is that there was a picture circulating that said, "Oh, look, in the capsule, they zoom in on a window, and in the window was what was pretty clearly the hand of a dummy, like a crash test dummy type of dummy."
What?
Yeah, and they're saying, "See, it's faked," but that was actually from a test launch from 2019 or something like that. And so
Oh,
so
there you
somebody
go.
was deliberately like fooling it, and millions of people believed it. I think it's very, very clear that the launch happened, that it wasn't faked, that it was
Yes.
real. And just be quiet, everybody. That's just dumb. It's like if you want to care about things that are fake, care about things like that fake social network where everybody is like, where AI is like giving you like likes and praising you all the time. You know what I'm talking about? Okay. If you
Like
don't,
all of them? What
no,
do you
no,
mean?
no, no, no.
I thought you were just talking about social media, honestly, in
This is a
general.
preview because I'm probably going to write about this, and I'll
Okay.
probably want to talk about this in the next
Okay, well,
episode.
give
But
us a
basically,
preview. We'll end on your preview. This is like
the
an
preview is it's a
outro
social
commercial.
network. It's an app you can download where you're the star of a social network. So everybody else on the social network is fake. It's like an AI, and they're different people, and
Mm,
they up they like your stuff and they praise you for the things you do, and it's like you get to be an
so
influencer even if
dumb.
you have no influence whatsoever. And apparently it's pretty popular and people love it, and they're like, this is how all social networks should be. And so it's part of that thing that I've complained about before, where people interact with fake influencers, or they interact with fake people, and they don't care that they're fake. It's the
Mm,
same thing. They want to feel it's like professional wrestling or something. They don't care that it's fake. They
right.
just want to
True.
participate in the fantasy. And so I just think it's very weird. And but we'll talk about that next time around.
This makes me think that life expectancy is going to go down and not up. Like, I
Yeah,
just do not like this. Also, OpenAI was working on a social network. I don't know if you saw that this
I
week.
did. Yeah.
Yeah, we could talk
Why?
about all of
Why?
this forever and ever and ever, but
Yeah. But we got to wrap it up. So,
we gotta
um,
go.
and you wanted to talk about disposable cameras and Gen Zs and people, and we should squeeze that in next time. You've made it through another episode of the Unicorn Roast podcast with Mike Elgin, that's me, and Emily Forlini. This podcast has no paywall, no ads, and no sponsors. All we ask from you is a 5-star rating and a glowing review. So get on that right away. Follow us, subscribe, and get links to the and show notes at our website, unicornroast.com. and we'll see you next week.
Unicorn Roast.